I like how that slap right there. You got me feeling real Horseshoes Jones, man. Yeah. It's so great nice in here. Midwest finesse now, let's be clear. Northern exposure, new frontier. Good rhymes, good times, and yes, it's good beer. We be spitting BPs in here. Giannis and Yelich had some good years. No time faking it, we about making it. That glass ceiling stuff, yo, I'm all about breaking it. From a small town, but I got big dreams. Chamber diet up now, get more greens. Where the good fiber, the flow on cyber. Almost los flamingos flock tighter. All we do is give that good try. Close a hidden playlist on Spotify. Do da 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 do just like shy. It's that 9-9 simple word so fly.
What is up, Rally Heads? This is Rob Chappell with another edition of 608 Soccer Show Rallycast. With me, as always, Sarah Stern. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm well. It's as we record this, USA has not played yet, so you've got your USA shirt on. I have not donned mine yet, so you're like ahead of me back.
I'm ready.
A couple hours.
I'm ready.
So either everybody listening to this is in a very good mood, or everybody's drowning their sorrows and trying to distract from the pain of the USA loss to Bosnia by listening to us talk about Rally Madison and happy things. I suspect everybody's in a good mood, so we'll maybe not jinx it. But so we're going to talk in a little bit. We'll have some of the technical staff from Rally Madison on, Liz Lawrence, the technical director, and assistant head coach Tenzin Rampa, on to talk their reflections on the season and had a really nice conversation with them. But first, we want to talk through these last two matches and just kind of get a little bit of perspective on the season and some thoughts as we go into this very long off season for Rally, and kind of transition back over to focusing on the men's side. So we got a big win on Wednesday, which I didn't go to that one because it was supposed to be the Pride March out here in Mount Horeb. So I was going to go take my kid to that, and then it got rained out. So I just came home and watched the game on the TV. But then we went. But then that same kid and I went to the game on Friday night, which was fantastic.
Yes.
Even though it was not a win to finish the season for Rally Madison, it was a beautiful night, and then it was just fun to be there to kind of wrap up this first season, right? You were there too.
Yeah, I was there. It was a beautiful night. It was perfect. I overheard a conversation behind me talking about the weather being perfect, and it was, and the sunset was beautiful. It was just, it set a really nice scene. Even though they didn't win, there's more things to celebrate bigger than that game for sure.
Yeah. There's tons to celebrate in this season, regardless of the results. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the on the field experience from that first game, especially on Wednesday, against RKC, a team that we lost to the first time we saw them, 1-0. So it was nice to see a good solid bounce back. One thing of note, Sonoma Beaver got her first start in this one. I think this is her first start, right?
I'm not sure, to be honest. That seems surprising, but yeah, maybe that's the case.
Yeah. I remember thinking earlier in the season, like, why haven't we seen her more?
Yeah.
I don't know if she had a knock or was just
okay
or what, but she was one of the first players announced with a great deal of excitement.
Exactly.
Edgewood product. And
that's
just
right.
finished her first season. And we learned a couple of weeks ago now is transferring to Wisconsin. So she's going to be a Badger. She'll be home. And she wasted absolutely no time. If it was her first start, she didn't waste very much time getting the ball into the back of the net, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. And what surprises me about her getting her first start is she has such a presence on field. So when she has come on as a sub, it's like, Sonoma Beaver's on. She's such a target player. She's going to make stuff happen. But yeah, that goal was awesome. It was a turnover in the middle, quick counterattack. And what I loved about this play was she just took one extra push, one extra touch with the ball towards the end line, and then ended up scoring a goal. And little adjustments and decisions like that can make such a big difference, which it did.
Because she got the ball in from Megan Murray, and she was a little bit wrong-footed getting the ball, but she was able to chase it down right at the end line.
Yep.
And it was like on the line. It was they were, I think the RKC goalkeeper was trying to say it was out, but I don't think it was.
Interesting.
But then when she got it turned was coming centrally. You saying like she took that one extra
Yeah,
touch to get a little bit closer.
exactly. That was probably the moment where it looked as if it was going out of bounds, but she
Mm-hmm.
just took one extra step and kind of movement to beat the defender. And it was probably by like inches that she did this.
Right.
And then she got the shot off, which just does make a massive difference.
When I was sitting here in my office watching the game, and I literally said, "What?" when she scored, because it was from such a tight angle. It's like you don't score from there.
It was
probably
like parallel, yeah.
Right. It was like a foot off the end line. This far, this far from the post, and it did. In the club actually posted a video from the end line.
Oh, cool!
And it looks like it did. I think it took a deflection, kind of like it wasn't an accidental goal. Like she was trying to score from there.
Yeah.
But I think it. But the goalkeeper was so surprised that it went like it went like inside the goal, between the goalkeeper and the near post. And the goalkeeper was guarding for a cross, and it went behind the goalkeeper and in, and I think it kind of just went off her thigh or something. But what I loved about it, and what I loved about another goal we're going to talk about later, is like just to have the audacity to be like, yeah, I can score from here.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, yeah. It just takes a lot of...
For sure. It was intentional, and you do have to have a level of confidence to go for that angle. And I think natural attackers sort of do have that confidence. And yeah, it's interesting. And what's fun as a striker when you're in that position is you can see that little window where that ball might sneak through. And so she probably just noticed that and went for it. Of course, she could have, crossed it, and I'm sure someone would have tapped it in.
She could have cut back. She could have whatever, but she sees like you said, there's this tiny window, and then thinks to herself, yeah, I could fit it in there.
This. Yeah.
And then she had to do it, and then she did it.
Yeah.
Like that's what's so beautiful about it. And I bet if you talk to her, and I've talked to I've asked this question to some of the guys, that like, what are you thinking in that moment? And the answer is almost always like, I don't know. Like I wasn't really, it's just like my muscles do the thing. And then afterwards I'm like, wow, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just so instinctual.
Yeah. It's that flow state again where you're just like, no, right. I'm going for it.
Yep. And if you did think about it, you'd be like, no.
Exactly.
But you don't. You just do it, and to have that level of confidence is great. And I'm very excited to see more from her with the Badgers, and then again next season back here. One hopes.
Yeah, for sure.
Now there was a long delay, and I unfortunately haven't been able to find any more information about Ella Cradwell, the goalkeeper for RKC, who took a knee to the head and was down for like 15 minutes. They had to like stretch her off to an ambulance, which is never
not good.
Never good. But one hopes that was mostly precautionary. Because anytime there's a head or neck involved, you gotta like treat it as if it's maybe worse than it is. So one hopes that that's okay. But then the players had to like try to get right back into the swing of things after a 15-minute delay, and they did.
Yeah.
The second goal comes from Megan Murray. This one, the build up on this was direct. That was a word that Liz Lawrence used, was direct, and we've kind of noticed this, that it goes from the back to the edge of the 18-yard box in about 2 passes.
Yep.
And 2 touches. Like Elsa Maurer makes the line breaking pass right up the center of the park to Taylor Gordon. She takes a couple touches, does get stopped. But it was a very weird way that when the defender made the tackle and the ball just stopped moving, it just like sat there at the top of the D, and Megan Murray kind of trailing the play and you can see the moment that she recognizes, oh, there's a ball I can kick. Yeah. And like her body just like, goes into motion. She's like, oh, there it is. And she's recognized it's almost like a free kick, right? Because the ball's sitting still, and she just like runs onto it and hammers it in from the top of the arc.
Yeah. She, Megan Murray's been one of the most consistent players, I think, for Rally this summer. She's been such a fun player to watch, and just covers so much ground. So that was, yet another fun goal for her to probably score, even if it was served to her on a nice platter.
Right. Well, she still had to execute,
Yeah, she
but
did. She did.
and the run and the to take up that space sort of behind, like in support of like if Gordon's the 9 there, Megan's the 10, like in support, so to take up that space and to recognize the opportunity and then convert it was great.
Yeah, right place, right time for sure.
Yep. Yep. Now early in the second half, Kira Kimbrough got one back for RKC. It was a little cross. Lilleberg went down to get it, which was probably the right decision, but she spilled it and made it for an easy tap in. And one thing we've talked about on the podcast occasionally is that when you're not finishing your chances, you can't give up easy, fluky goals like that.
Yeah.
But those easy, fluky goals don't really matter when you're putting in 5 at the other end. You have a little bit of room for error, right?
There's some flexibility, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
flexibility.
a cushion.
Right. But Madison didn't get another goal until very late. It was like the 84th minute. And this is the other one I wanted to talk about, that audacity is the word. This is maybe the goal of the season for me.
It's stunning.
What can you say about Taylor Gordon in this moment?
Yeah, I mean, the power behind this shot, first of all, to take that from the corner of the 18, like, she's just a beast. Like, that is a beautiful goal, and not everyone can do it. That's just the reality. Like, you might train to try and do that. I don't think it's one of those shots where coaches would normally encourage you to take, unless you can be pretty certain that you can make that. And yeah, I mean, confidence, audacity, like, and it just goes in. I agree. That was one of the most beautiful goals this season.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the Instagram video from the club, from inside the press box.
I saw that. Yeah.
And
that was amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, because they were like doing a bit where they're like, oh, I just got a goal notification. Let's watch the goal. Yeah. And then that goal happened.
And
not
then
even
they
just
scored,
a goal, but
yeah.
that goal, like that. Incredible. And they're all like, oh my, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah. Whose ever intuition that was incredible.
Yeah. But it was late on. And so, she's like all kind of isolated on an island out on the wing, and everybody's kind of dragging, like their defenders weren't really moving. We weren't making a lot of off the ball runs at that moment. So she just picks her head up and says, okay. And I want to be clear. Definitely not one of those, was it a shot? Was it a cross?
That was a shot.
100% intentional, because it went into the side netting on the other side and the far post. Like, I think the goalkeeper was very surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
such a pretty
you talk
goal.
about, like, that's maybe not a shot that a coach would necessarily tell you to take, because you want to take high percentage shots. But for Taylor Gordon, that kind of is a high percentage shot, right?
Yeah. If she can do that every time on the corner of the 18, I'm sure plenty of people will tell her to go for it. Do it again.
Why not? Now the smoke, the smoke pot went off for all the goals, and so the smoke had not even cleared yet when she put another one in 3 minutes later.
Yeah. And that was off of a quick short corner, right? They just went for it. I think there was a lot of momentum and excitement, and they unleashed 2 more goals, one of which was like, and it's again, we talk about mindset with this rally team, like that. You don't have to take a quick short corner at that point in the game. You're up by a few goals, and you could time waste, but they
3-1 with 3 minutes left to play.
Yeah, like they had fun with it, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I think that is and in fact the well, when we get to the next one, but this one was like, it was a quick short corner across. The goalie did get to it and spilled it, but this is another Taylor Gordon thing we've talked about before. The ball's coming into the net. She's coming at it whether or not she thinks the goalkeeper's going to get it.
Yeah,
she's there just in case the goalkeeper doesn't get it, and the goalkeeper didn't get it, so she with her head and knocked it in.
She's going to take care of it. Yeah,
and she's always going. She's always ready, and that's you just really love to see that in a striker.
Yes,
right?
Yes, you do. It's such a good quality to have. And again, we talked about crashing the net and just being in those dangerous positions if something were to happen. And yeah, mistakes happen and you're either there to capitalize on it or you're not. And she just is usually always there.
Right. And when you put a ball in a dangerous spot, good things happen. And the
Yeah.
cross coming in was in a dangerous spot. It was like right along the end line. It was dropped in right in the middle of the 6-yard box, and somebody's
Yep.
going to get it. So,
Yep.
and then Cam, the commentary guy, was talking about what you were just talking about, like just keeping the pedal to the metal. You know, like there's a you know, you'd expect to see a team start to go to the corner or knock it around or whatever at that time, and that's a perfectly legitimate thing to do when you're up 3-1 with 5 minutes left. But also, and maybe it's because it's the sort of the amateur level, and they're still figuring out how to play together. You don't want to suddenly change what you're doing.
Right.
You don't want to like completely change your mindset, completely change your tactic, completely change your shape, because then all of a sudden you're vulnerable.
Totally.
And now it's game on again if you give one up.
Exactly. And it does appear, I mean, from a spectator's point of view, that is just part of the script. They're just continuing to push forward like they're coached and like they train. It's very obvious that is intentional from them. So, yeah, more fun for them to keep scoring goals, more fun for the fans to see goals till the very last minute. So, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't say you put 5 goals on somebody. That's like, we'll take it. But the last one was a free kick, and again, it's a free kick from like 40 yards away, probably, and you could very easily just take that as a restart and just knock it around.
Yes,
through stoppage
play it
time.
back. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but they flung it in, and the goalkeeper again got to it, but punched it out, and then Delaney Cox just headed it just perfectly down, just how you're supposed to do it, like down and skipped it in.
Exactly. I want to call out the service because I think it was Eve, number 5. She actually stood out to me these last 2 games. I know the RKC game, there was a better result, but she's a really strong player on the wing, and this service was so good, so accurate. Yeah, perfect, truly. So I'm not surprised it ended in a goal, and yeah, you just need someone hungry like Delaney Cox to finish it out. But it was like pretty perfect from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that a few times in this game, actually. In the last couple games, where you can have somebody on a wing or even more direct, drop a dime in the 6-yard box, like something good's going to happen. Often, not every time, but enough that it's worth doing. And the accuracy of the service has been really, really good.
Yes.
And then maybe that's one thing that was lacking early in the season. We had the strikers who could finish, but we weren't getting the service.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the several things that really kind of came together at the end of the season.
It's all clicking.
It's all clicking. It was clicking somewhat less Friday.
That's true.
And here's my question. We did, Sonoma Beaver got another goal early in this game against Edgewater Castle, the 17th minute. And then after that, after maybe the 25th minute or so, our players looked pretty gassed, honestly. And going Wednesday, Friday, especially Wednesday, Friday at the end of the season when you've been going for 6 or 7 weeks, we only made 3 changes in the starting lineup. I kind of expected to see more rotation than that. When I looked, Edgewater only made 3 changes also, and they had played on Tuesday. So they had 1 extra day of rest. Now, as a player, does that 1 extra day make a difference, do you think?
For sure. I think physically and mentally. Yeah.
So maybe they were just in slightly more fresh. Or more fresh enough that they made us look kind of tired.
Yeah, we did look gassed, and I almost was going to blame it on the weather, but it wasn't like that hot. It's not like it is now, but maybe that play. But I do think that makes a difference. Like, these girls work hard. Again, we've talked about how kind of condensed this season is, how quick it goes. So they're probably fatigued, and I think if there's not a lot of player turnover in subs, like, it's just people kind of getting worked and all of them working hard on the field. So tricky. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. You can second guess roster decisions all day long, but the fact is, like, we were just They just had an extra half step on us. It's feeling like, especially when we were creating chances and creating opportunities and just not finding the space that we had found in the last several games. And then just got exploited. And Christina Lynch just had the game of her life. Got all 4 goals for Edgewater came from Christina Lynch. The first one on the 24th, and then so you and it's also like a momentum thing. Like it's 1-1 approaching halftime, and then they get the second in the 44th minute, and then that's just kind of like a momentum gut punch.
Totally.
But all of a sudden, you're coming out of the break down 2-1.
Yeah,
You know?
and honestly, we could talk about how tired they were or looked or whatever, but credit to Edgewater, they looked good.
Yeah,
like they did look sharp and
no, they looked a lot more sharp than the last time when we played them at their place.
Exactly. Yeah, like, exactly.
Something came together for them.
They had a dangerous attacker who was ready to score a bunch of goals, and yeah, they had some crazy goals too. The first 2 were really good, and then the third goal where the girl sort of instinctively, one of their players sort of stuck out her foot as if it was like instinct rather than kind of technique, and it just bounces into the goal. So yeah, there were just some good goals, but also that was like
their last goal was purely product of Rally chasing. Like we were chasing a goal and we were all forward, and as soon as they got past the end line or past the center line, we had nobody back. So like, all right,
yeah, yeah. What are you gonna do?
And that was in the 80, right? Exactly. That was in the 83rd. So, but you go on a 5-game unbeaten streak, and then you get kind of run off the field in the very last game, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Especially there was nothing at stake at that moment, and it's not like we're going to make the playoffs if we won that one or something. Minnesota's ran away with it 4 weeks ago, probably. But they sort of like secured their playoff spot in the second or third week, I think. But now if we kind of pause and look back, we did it. Like, we got a women's soccer team here, and they made it through the season, and they did pretty darn good.
They did.
And Madison turned out. Madison, like, we had like 3,400 people there that last game.
Yes. Madison showed up. Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, just to put it simply, all these girls are trailblazers, like they're trailblazers of the game, making history and setting new standards for themselves, for players who come after them. And it's been so fun to watch and talk about with you, and they have so much to be proud of. The best part about it is like going to the games and seeing young girls with Rally jerseys, who,
isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It gives me chills because that's the future. These young athletes get to dream and have the dream of becoming them someday, and actually have the opportunity and pathway to do that. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and not to get too big, but like to place it within the sort of the context of women's sports are surging, just broadly. Women's soccer is surging. I mean, NWSL is making huge inroads or huge strides in terms of attendance and actually keeping American players in America professionally, which is good finally. And now there's still talk of second and third division women's, a pyramid of sorts, a pathway, so you're not jumping straight from W League to NWSL, but staying in the United States and playing at that level. And I think this collection of women in Madison and across W League are going to be the vanguard of that next wave of women's soccer. I hope, because they're
I hope so too.
19, 20 years old, and when they're 25, 26, 27 at the sort of peak of their career, might be when we actually have a second division league and a second division professional team here in Madison.
Yes. Yeah. And without kind of starting somewhere, it's harder to see that future. And so they truly are the beginning of what's possible. And when I think back to like playing at UW Milwaukee, there was quite a gap between finishing out your college career and then playing pro. And now fast forward many years later, I love that this is normalized, closing that gap and allowing those opportunities to exist no matter what level you're interested in. Like everyone who loves the sport should have an opportunity to continue playing. And this is a beautiful place to begin.
Yeah. And you'll hear Tenzin Rampa talk about that a little bit in the next segment, but basically that there are women who are probably good enough, but don't even like know how to go about approaching soccer as a career. And this 5 weeks will give them enough of a taste of it to be like, okay, I belong here, and some connections and to network and to maybe be able to take advantage of those newer opportunities as they come.
Totally. And like, yeah, if I think of my own personal circumstance when after I ended college at UW-Milwaukee, it was the resources and the networking and the opportunities that weren't super obvious. And so that's when I did eventually end up going to Sweden to play, so as much as that was awesome and a beautiful experience and everyone should travel and experience other cultures and everything, like how cool would it have been to play at home locally, like many of these girls are doing. So it should be, this just has to be normalized, and it's getting there. And that's just so important.
Mm-hmm. And I've since Forward Madison was announced, my fear has always been that the novelty will wear off. That a bunch of people will come and it'll be really exciting and new, and everything, any new thing is always exciting.
Yeah.
And it didn't. Like we had over 4,000 people for the first match, which you'd expect, but it didn't really dip that much. I mean, the final home match of the season is 3,400, which is that's more than some USL Championship teams get on an average basis. So, my genuine hope is that Madison will support women's soccer as much as everybody says they're going to.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Like,
good.
And we as a fan base and as a community have to do it again just as hard as the women on the field are going to have to do it again next year.
Exactly. May it continue and only grow from here.
Yeah, and we're going to keep talking about it because that's why I rebranded the podcast, because I wanted the women seem to be as important to us as a media property, as a media enterprise, and as fans, as the men's. And if there's any difference, it's because it's the difference between amateur and pro, not between the difference between women and men.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's important for people like you to talk about it and to have, players and coaches and soccer fans and professionals included in the conversation, because it's fun to listen to. It's fun to participate in. Like it's just important to talk about.
Well, and it's very important to have people who know what they're talking about here. So thank you for that.
I tried my best. I'm not an analyst, but I tried my best.
You're more analysty than I am, but in all seriousness, I think it's important to not only talk about it, but to have more voices talking about it. And so it's been just a real pleasure. And I know it's been difficult for you because of the time of year that it is.
Yeah.
And you were so generous with your time and I think really a wonderful addition to the 608 soccer family. So really, genuinely, thank you. And anytime you want to hop on and talk about the boys, you're absolutely welcome.
Sounds good. No, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
All right, we're going to take a short pause, and we'll be back soon with Liz Lawrence and Tenzin Rampa. And we're back, and joining us now to sort of retrospectively look at the season, Technical Director Liz Lawrence. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for being here. And Assistant Coach Tenzin Rampa. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for making the time, both of you. I just want to we'll start sort of big picture. First season in the W League, and off to a rough start. Turned around pretty nicely toward the end there. What are your impressions? Sort of as we kind of tie up this first season with Rally Madison.
I could jump in. So I think, just looking at the season, obviously, wasn't expectations in the beginning, but I think just figuring out our players and who we brought in and kind of working through our player strengths. And as the season went on, definitely had some success. But I think year one is a lot of learnings, and how do we take those learnings into year two and just constantly improve? But I feel like we have a good core. And we were younger, so that's something to state. But like those younger players, how do they continue to develop in their college, landscape, and then come back in year two and even be bigger and better?
What about you, Tenzin? What are your impressions?
Yeah, I think, going into it, there was a lot of excitement, at least, from my end, joining this staff, of two people that I work closely with, but just for, being a Madison soccer player myself and then having played in a similar platform in my college years, having this available for the women's soccer players in Madison, I was just really looking forward to see how that was going to look. And, on the competitive side, yeah, just figuring out what that league was going to be like, the competitive level, what type of players we were going to have. I just think we just took a lot of lessons into seeing what this was and what it could be going forward. So I'm just excited to see what the future holds here.
Yeah, you both kind of mentioned things you learned. You learned a lot during this first season.
Yeah.
Can you put a name to some of those things? Like anything specific that you learned this first season that are going to help you prepare for season number 2?
Yeah, I think some of it was a mix of player experience. So we did have some younger players, and then is there just a mix of even those players that they just graduated and they want to continue to play and have that experience within the league. I think that was probably the number one. And then I think just kind of, the mix of position profile of like, where do we find that we were kind of lacking, that we need a little bit more strength within that as well.
What about
Yeah, and I think,
specifically,
I think one thing is, we want to put out a team that's playing to win every match, in front of what we think is like the best fan base, but also combining that with, what those individual players need for themselves to put themselves in the best position to go back to their colleges, right? So I think there's the team aspect of it. How do we put together a cohesive unit on the team that's going to win in the USLW League, which is very competitive, as we found out this season, but also, match those needs with, of a player who maybe might need to, return back to their teams earlier than expected, right? So I think that's one thing that I took is how do we put together a roster, where we can both win on the field, but also that individual player gets the most out of their experience this summer. So.
Yeah, that is an interesting line to walk, right? Where it's explicitly a development league, but you also want to. But as Jules kind of mentioned before the season, like winning is part of development, right? Like you not only
that's the motto, I swear. Like that's what we teach our players.
Like you learning how to play, but learning how to win, right? And also just having a successful career gets you more looks and more attention and higher profile, whatever. But it is, like you say, a kind of you have a dual mission kind of. Now you both have coached at. I'm sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to note is, and we kind of like talked about this after, is just maybe like the depth of roster. Like you have maybe 30 really talented players, and how do you kind of manage all that? Because of, to Tenzin's point, there was girls that had to leave for college early on. So, we're kind of, we're working between college coaches and our ownership and everyone is how do you kind of find more players where you can kind of balance all that as well.
Yeah. And you don't have a week between games to think about it either.
No.
The way
there's 2 games a week.
Yeah,
we're
right?
Yeah.
Right, like you finish like this last week. You finish off a great win on a Wednesday, and now we got to play again the day after tomorrow. And how do you manage that? Even now, you both have coached at a pretty high level before, but I'm not sure if have you coached anything like that's roughly equivalent to this sort of like college age pre-professional level, and is it any different than like a U19 team at a local club? And how do you approach it differently, I guess, if you do at all?
Yeah, I think within this, I think some of the mentality is similar. It's, what they're trying to get accomplished within the technical, set or what your kind of game tactics are. But I think from this team coming together, it's chemistry mentality. I think fitness level is a big piece of this because what they're getting through, like you're coming in with a 16-year-old versus who can run all day, where there's colleges and you're doing different training with strength and conditioning and fitness, and you're coming in and trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was more like, how do you gel everybody together? And I personally love the fact of the level of talent where you're pulling from, when you look at our player profiles where they're coming from the colleges, like
Mm-hmm.
it's fantastic. And the
Yeah.
other experiences from Madison to Marquette to Kentucky and coming all together in one, and what they've learned and kind of learned from each other, which I think is just different and unique from coaching a U18 team from a club scene.
Sure. Any thoughts on that,
Yeah.
Tenzin?
Yeah, I think it's different in club, right? So where club you've got, a lot of the same constants, whether it's the age group, players all training consistent amount of times a week, roughly, very kind of stable transportation and all that stuff. In a team like this, where if I'll compare it to like the Milwaukee Wave, where you've got players coming from different backgrounds, different ages, a very condensed season.
Mm-hmm.
You've just got to kind of see more of the big picture of, what's going to make everything spin. And I think in this one, this was probably the most abbreviated season that I've ever been a part of. It felt like it went in a flash, right? So that's just something that just plays on, learning for next season. What could we do maybe a little bit different to come in a little bit more prepared, or come in with a little bit better style of play on day one, right? So I think that's what a big takeaway for me would be.
Is there anything specific you can point to that was kind of the turnaround here? Because like it was a pretty rough start, and then there was the one game in the middle season with it was a loss, but you could start to see things coming together, and then all of a sudden you're on a 5-game unbeaten streak. Is there anything specific that really just clicked one day for the team on the field?
I mean, I guess I would say, I think having more experience playing together, like as the season went on, I do think the strength of schedule. I mean, we're starting out, we open up with Aurora, who's going through the playoffs.
Yep.
And then we turn around, and River Lights is a very high quality team. So that's who we opened up with on the road or home. And then we jump in and we're going to South Dakota, and then we're on the road to Aurora. So I think strength of schedule in the beginning, and just like learning the W League and who we are. And, like Tenzin said, like going into year 2 is like, okay, well, I know what to expect from Jules, Tenzin, Liz, Willie, and instead we're just all figuring each other out. And so to be on the road with those teams that went 1, 2, 3, and then I feel like
you kind of a gauntlet to start out, didn't you?
Yeah, we went through the gauntlet, let's be honest. But then after that, it's kind of like, I think, even from our attack, our strength of the players like a Megan Murray and a Taylor Gordon and a Zoe Hebe, figuring each other out. And you could just see how they were starting to play off each other when it started turning around within Rockford. So, yeah, that's kind of where I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with Liz for sure. I think the strength of the schedule. I'd also want to point out, the fitness level required, I think it just got better as the season went on. There are noticeable players that, their games just got that much better because, maybe they were peak fitness halfway through the season, and maybe next year they come in.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Fit from the beginning. Right. So I think that's just one thing that us as a staff, we recognized. And then the other thing is just what kind of soccer this team's going to play, because every team's going to play a little bit differently based on what you got. And I think we realized, hey, maybe we're a little bit more direct. But yeah, I agree with everything Liz said there.
Yeah, that's one thing we noticed, that just as lay people out here, as the podcaster pundits who like to pretend we're knowledgeable, that the directness is something that we definitely noticed, that things were happening really quickly right through the middle of the field, and the connectivity between the midfield and the final third really came together in those last 4 or 5 games. One thing that you notice about W League is that there's a wide range in terms of not only sort of level of play, although all the teams were pretty competitive, at least in our division, it looked like to me. But sometimes you're going to play at a high school football field with 40 people there, and then sometimes you're in Minnesota with 6,000, And in Madison, I mean, I'll admit I was nervous about, are people say they're going to come out for women's soccer, but are they really? And they really did. And how does that feel? Did you hear anything, feedback from players and stuff about just playing in front of that really enthusiastic, passionate home crowd?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I thought it was amazing. I think our ownership does a fantastic job, and all the people that work behind the scenes, we see it when
Mhm.
Tenzin and Jules and I and Willie get there so early, and they're working so hard, and they're putting it all together.
Mhm.
And it's special. I think it's a special place when we went to other places and we're playing in front of 5 people in the crowd. But it is a special place and a special environment. And I'm going to also say the community was fantastic from day one. Talking to some of our players who play in bigger programs, they were like, I never expected this summer. Like, this is so special, and it's a cool environment, and look at all these people and the autograph signings and everything. And I know when we talk to our players and when things were getting tough, and you're out in the community and they are having people sign autographs when they're going to get yogurt at a yogurt shop. And like, it's just
That's awesome.
and you are representing Rally, and you should feel proud when you put that jersey on. And I think the whole feel of it in the community, and even some of the feedback from the people that are in the crowd, this is just an excitement. And obviously our expectations were to have a winning season, and we went a little less than 500, but I think the environment into the end of Friday, like, we still felt special out there.
Yeah, that was great. So obviously Madison was initially the first idea was to be professional, right? And that the stadiums that didn't work out, but that's still in the cards someday in the future. What do both of you feel about, or what's your sort of prognosis for women's professional soccer in the United States? You know what I mean? There's NWSL's going great, Super League sort of limping along. There's some talk of second and third division, more opportunities for women. Are you guys optimistic about the sort of the opportunities for women in professional soccer in the United States over the next, 5 years, 10 years?
Or I can jump in.
Yeah. I mean, I think
spread the love.
Yeah.
I think you have to be. I think a couple things. I think on the back of a World Cup, whether it's a men's or women's World Cup, I think it's great for the game. I think on the club side, we're seeing, the women's soccer, leagues grow exponentially every year. It's hard to even keep up. So I think those are two drivers that say that, it can only help it. I think the women's pro game, Madison, I felt like was the perfect environment to start off with a pre-professional franchise like this, because you've got the Ford Madison team that's done well over the last, 6 years. And this team could kind of come in with a great brand, a great fan base, so that if it was to take the next step, and anyone at one of our rally games could see, hey, this is what it could look like, I don't know how you don't get excited about it. So, I think that really bodes well. So I'd say you have to be optimistic. I'm optimistic about it.
And how optimistic are you? I don't know if you want to name any names, but was there anybody on the roster that you just saw in training every day and in games like yeah, she's going to NWSL, she's going to Europe? Anybody that really stood out?
Yeah, I can jump in. Anna Sigorski. So she actually got hurt in our first game against River Lights on the road, which was really unfortunate. And I think when you look at it from a roster standpoint, she was one of the key players coming in. We did actually get her into the NWSL combine with AFC. So she was going to go in June, but unfortunate with her injury, she wasn't able to go. But I think there are players that also shine within that. I thought Briley Wallows stepped up, and from the start of where she came in to the end, she was one of our leaders. I think Taylor Gordon had a great season. She was our leading goal scorer, but I think from where she started to the competency end and going into Madison this season, I'm really excited about, what she's going to do over there. And then there's like a Claire Shea and a Megan Murray from Marquette, I think, also instrumental in our back line, but also Megan in our line of attack. So there's some, like, when you look at pro, like, there's some that are on the edge of like, where could they go? They're
kind of
still
in the bubble,
young.
yeah. Yep.
But, there's others to mention, but I think from when you're looking at that, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah. Any names to add, Tenzin?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the ones that Liz said. I think, for me, just, in that same vein of like, could they go pro? It's sometimes the hardest thing is to understand how you even do it, or how you even go about it, or if you have to go to a tryout or whatnot. And I think this just helps any player in the Madison area, at least, if you're thinking about it, maybe this is, where you start. Right. And I think we had a number of players that could probably be in that, that 10 or 12 players that, you know, if they didn't feel like they could play at the next level before, maybe after this season, they have a little bit more belief, right? I think the ones from Madison that took the opportunity, that maybe they, you know, felt like they could have had a better season with their college, you know, season. They came out and they had an outstanding season with Rally, and maybe that puts them in that much better of a position to think about going pro. So, yeah, like Taylor Gordon, I think Sonoma Beavers, one that really came on at the end, you know. So,
yeah, for sure.
You know, in that way, this program really, really offers that opportunity for those kids that, you know, look, you know, this your college season is your college season. Now this is another opportunity if you want to go to that next level. Okay, this is what you're gonna have to play well this summer, right? And you know, and then it becomes that much more real. So.
Right. Well, and somebody like Sonoma Beaver is just going into her sophomore season, right? So
yeah, and that's those are some of the young guys like Amalia Zillman starting to Michigan, Elsa Maurer in her back line, Butler, you know, Maddie Arthur going to Old Dominion. And the other one I want to note is like the interesting one, like where would you go, is like Zoe Hebe. Like she was a huge instrumental in our attack. She comes going to Loyola in her last season. She's someone that has a ton of potential, but like what direction does she go? And I think feeling this in this environment, I know she absolutely loved it. So
great.
She's a very talented player.
Yeah. So are you optimistic that some of those young players will be back next season? Will we see some of these same names again and start from day one with a unit that's played together?
Yeah, I mean, when I left, I don't know, Tenzin, when I left, I was getting hugs, and they're like, we can't wait for next year. And I'm like, well, good luck in college. Like, let's start with that one
focus
first.
over there now, and then come back.
Come back to us.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. Well, Liz Lawrence Tenzin Rampa, thank you so much for the time today. Thank you so much for everything you did to bring women's soccer to Madison and keep making it exciting for us. We had a great time at the games, and we really look forward to next season. So best of luck in your whatever you're doing between now and then, and we'll see you again next summer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Rob.
All right. We'll be right back right after this. All right, and to finish up today, we're going to go not around the league because like the results of the past week are kind of meaningless. So what I'm going to do is kind of preview the USLW League playoffs. If you're interested in watching, you can watch on Sports Engine. It's the same platform. You can watch Rally Madison. So there's 16 divisions, and the winner of each division moves on to the playoffs. The divisions are divided into 4 conferences, right? So each conference has 4 divisions. So there's 2 matches in the first round of the playoff in each conference. So there's 8 matches total. So there's so these are basically the conference semifinals, the first round of which is Friday, July 3rd, and they're all at neutral locations, interestingly. So rather than host a playoff match, like all 4 teams that won the divisions in each conference all go to the same place, and they play the semifinals on Friday and the finals on Sunday, and then the winners on Sunday move on to the national semifinals. And I'm not sure where that is, honestly. But so here's the first round, which will happen on Friday. In the Southern Conference, which the games are taking place at University of North Carolina, it's the Charlotte Eagles versus FC Miami City at 3:30, Asheville City against Lone Star SC Austin at 7 p.m. In the Western Conference at Interbay Stadium in Seattle, it's the Monterey Bay Sirens, who they won their division in their first year, which is pretty impressive. They're owned by the Monterey Bay FC in the USL Championship Club. This is their women's team. And so pretty big accomplishment to win your division in the first season. They will take on Capo FC at 2:00 on Friday, and then Salmon Bay against Colorado Storm at 7 p.m. The Eastern Conference, their Virtue Field in Vermont. That's the home field of the Vermont Green, which one of the biggest USL League 2 clubs. They also have a W League team. And so they basically get a home game. The Vermont Green W League team gets basically a home game against Long Island Rough Riders at 6 p.m. And before that, Eagle FC will play Virginia Development Academy at 3 p.m. And then the Central Conference, this is where we live, Minnesota Aurora will take on Union FC Macomb at 3:30, and the Pittsburgh Riveters, which is the W League team affiliated or associated with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds from the championship, versus Racing Louisville, which is the W League team that's associated with Racing Louisville and NWSL at 7. I don't think that's the only W League team affiliated with an NWSL team. It's the only one in the playoffs. But that does make that one unique in that it's the sort of the amateur. I don't know if it's a reserve side exactly, but it's the W League, sort of the pre-professional team associated with a professional women's team rather than a professional men's team. So I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, that game, Pittsburgh Riveters versus Racing Louisville, 7 p.m. If you look at the W League power rankings right now, Minnesota Aurora is number 1. So I think they are favored to win this whole thing, which they've never done. They've won the division, the Heartland Division, all 4 years that they've been in existence, and they've always won it kind of. They've only lost, I think, like 2 or 3 regular season games in the whole 4 seasons. This year, however, they were uniquely dominant, only conceding 1 goal all season, much less losing a game. So I feel like Minnesota are the favorites right now, and I'll definitely tune in on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. and watch them and get you up to speed. Stoppage time today, a related topic. Atletico Dallas, which is the new USL Championship team that is going to start playing next year in Dallas, recently bought Dallas Trinity, which is the team in the USL Super League. And I mentioned this because I asked everybody, in this episode about sort of the future of women's professional soccer. And I think this is an interesting case because you have a new team, a new men's team in the championship side purchasing an established women's team that's been playing for 2 seasons already. And I think, I wonder if the model going forward will be basically the model that we have here in Madison, where you have a professional men's team and a women's team, which may end up actually in a higher division, right? Because the Super League is Division 1, Championship's Division 2. So you have a men's team, and I'm not sure exactly the structure. I'm not sure if it's the men's team owns the women's team or if it's one company that just kind of owns both teams in parallel. It doesn't really matter that much, but the fact is that you're going to see, and you're going to see in America what you see in Europe already, which is to say a sports club that owns multiple soccer teams, men's, women's, professional, amateur. I think that's a business model that can work, and I hope it does. The other note there is that the new ownership made a big coaching change, and they hired Lee Nguyen, who big hire, if you ask me. He was a national. He's from Texas. He's from that area, and he played for the men's national team. He played a 15-year professional career. I think that's a pretty big hire. He's also going to be like general manager, not sporting director. I don't think, but he's going to have some management duties as well for Dallas Trinity. So keep an eye on Super League next year. We know they lost this Spokane Zephyrs. They're going to have a hard time continuing to meet the standards for the number of teams. It's a Super League is in rough shape right now, I think. NWSL took 10 years to really catch on, and that was without a competing women's league. I think Super League is in a tough spot. But on at the individual club level, it is, I think, probably a good thing that you have the women's team sort of teaming up and pooling resources and with a new men's team. We'll see if it works. I would not be shocked. And in fact, I would be happy if Super League sort of reconfigured itself as a second division or even third division. I think that's when you look at the crowd size, when you look at the quality of play was very high. But when you look at like the players' wages, I think, are probably considerably lower than NWSL. And the crowd sizes obviously are nothing close to what NWSL draws. So it might make sense to do basically what the USL did on the men's side, which is to say, start at the lower level and then work up to a premier division. And maybe 10 years from now, we'll have Pro Rel on the women's side in USL, but it's hard to start at Division 1. So those are my thoughts. Anyway, I'm optimistic about women's soccer in Madison. It's been really, really fun following Rally. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And, we'll look really, really excited for next season. I think it's going to be great. And I think especially if they bring some of these, core of these players back, we saw how much better they got in the second half of this short season. And so it'll be exciting. And thanks for listening. Thanks for coming along as we sort of try to figure out how to cover both of these teams. We will have another 608 soccer show focused on Forward Madison and their 1-0 win over Spokane early next week, Monday or Tuesday next week probably. And we'll be back to sort of our more normal once a week schedule then for the rest of the season. So, all right. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Talk to you again soon. Up the Roses. The 608 Soccer Show is part of the 365 Media Network, hosted by Rob Chappell and Ethan Maurice. Produced by Rob Chappell, with a theme song by Rob Dees. Follow the show on Instagram and Blue Sky at 608 Soccer. And remember to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast app.